Hello, everybody. Scott McMeans with Action Coach SBL. I'm here today on Legacy Leaders with Susan Hazel Rich from Hazelmade. And there's a lot that is incorporating the words and brands of Hazelmade. So, Susan, I'm going to turn the microphone and the camera over to you. Um, Introduce yourself and then explain what is Hazelmade so people understand what it is you do.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me to have this conversation and share a little bit about who I am and what I do and my story. So, Hazelmade started about 11 years ago. It is a product-based business. In its start, it features illustrated paper and home goods by me. So, I create illustrations and I put those onto products. Those can be tea towels, stationery, greeting cards, tote bags, bandanas. Everything that I make is made right here in the Midwest. So I partner with other small family run companies. They're often women or veteran run as well. Those folks are right here in the Midwest and they're helping sew, print, make the paper. So I create the illustrations. I'm partnering with the other folks here. They're helping create these products. So each piece of Hazelmade supports 2 to 5 other small family run companies.
Love
And so I
that.
built that brand over the last 10 years. And then more recently, it's the question has come, what's happening for the next 10 years? And so with that base in place of where Hazelmead started, I've started to stretch out into some new areas that I'm excited about. One of which is corporate gifting. So I am taking the sort of old stale approach to corporate gifting, and helping introduce more thoughtful products. So these are sometimes Hazelmade products, but also I'm curating and using my network and community to curate other independent brands who are like-minded to Hazelmade. So small, independent, USA made quality goods that I can curate into these gift sets. And then I can help solve the problem of these corporate gifts, right? So lawyers, wealth management firms, realtors, small business owners, whoever they might be, they need
Yeah.
to send gifts to their clients. The options out there are, we've been using them for a long time. They're not great. I can help make these very curated, very personal. I handle all of the details. So I have over 10 years of experience in packaging, fulfillment, shipping. I do all of that for these folks. It's beautiful, it's well presented, it's thoughtful, it has a story behind it and meaning. Been doing it for about 2 years now, and the
Okay.
clients that are receiving them are just blown away. And what I love about it is that I get to support other brands like myself who need that support more than ever right now.
Mhm.
And then we often prompt folks to do these gifts at the sort of the top of the holiday season, so more around like Thanksgiving. We will do them year round, but typically this effort is made through the holidays. So we do it at the top of the holiday season, which allows folks to get all these great brands right before they're ready to start buying gifts themselves for their family and friends. So the promotion sort of goes out that way too. So I just love that it benefits a larger group. And I love curating and I love finding these beautiful things and pairing them up into these very smart, wonderful gift sets. Um,
There's a
and then
lot to digest in what you just said. Okay.
I
And
really went for it.
no, no, it's great. I love it. But I don't want to simply gloss over the fact that the illustrations that you put on a variety of items, whether they're printed, sewn, whatever, they're your illustrations. So
Yes.
when you say you curate a personal experience for somebody, it legitimately is you making an illustration and having
Mhm.
a wonderful, whether it's a gift or an item created because it comes from you. Now it's available to others. That's a pretty impressive way to start the relationship with somebody because it's you creating something specifically for an individual or a company. I think that's awesome
Mhm. Thank you.
because it's very different, right? And the fact that you have a number of partners that you feel are like-minded in the area geographically Midwest, which is awesome. You have this synergy between yourself and the partners that you have. So when you present a product to your market, your clients, it's always something that's personal. I think that's what makes a difference in the perception and the reality of a relationship. So thank you for setting that tone because I want people
Mhm.
to realize You said 2 to 5 different companies in the areas who I get to work with every time I put something together. Wow,
Mhm.
that's a really good synergy because you're not just selfishly saying, how do I make Hazel made this really cool brand? It's how do I leverage my relationships in a positive way so I can help more than just myself, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's really been so Hazelmade, the products that I create, that I illustrate, that I've been doing for the last 10 years, those were built on those partnerships of the
Yeah.
people that help Hazelmade sew and print and make my products. And so it only felt, and I love those relationships. I love that I'm not ordering tea towels from teatowels.com or whatever. I love that I know the people that are sewing them, that I can have the conversations. I can say, how can we reduce waste? How can we make this better? Those sorts of things. I love the problem solving. I love the details. And I've loved building Hazelmade in that way over the past 10 years. And so as I began to look towards, okay, that's all working and that's great. What is going to fulfill me and drive me into the next 10 years?
Hmm.
Starting the corporate gifting, where it's not only about Hazelmade products, but it's about other brands
Yeah.
like Hazelmade. And now building those partnerships around those brands and helping elevate those voices as well. I mean, it was just a logical next step. And I love that part of it. I love figuring out, how do things go together? How can we make them better? How can we stop someone in their tracks when they get a package in the mail, whether it's from Hazelmade or it's from a corporate gift, to say, ooh, I'm going to wait to open this until I have a moment, till I have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or whatever it is. This is going to wait.
Yeah.
Like, I love when that happens for me. When I get a package in the mail, I'm like, ooh, wait. This isn't going to just get opened uh, like in a rush. I'm going to wait for it. So
Yeah.
that's really the gem of what I love doing, whether it's for Hazelmade or through the corporate gifting.
Okay. So again, I love this because you have so many different things that come flowing out when we have a couple minutes of you talking. You made a comment, and I want to make this is really impactful. You are creating an environment of anticipation and
Mm-hmm.
impact. So when somebody gets a package from you, they know, okay, this is going to be special. This is going to be unique. So, whew, I can't just open it on the kitchen counter. I need to pay attention to what I'm doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That to me is one of the most important emotional connections a business can have with its clientele. And the reason I say that is you are creating an environment and an anticipation that, okay, the way you make me feel is why I want to open this in an environment where I can feel it. I really want to experience this, right? And that is something that it doesn't matter if you are a jeweler or a landscaper. You want people to have an amazing feel when they're done working with you. And that's something
Mm-hmm.
that, Susan, if we talk about all the different things people can learn from you, this is the one thing that just speaks to me is you create an environment where people feel something because of the engagement. They want to come back because they seek that feeling, right? It's the same thing of pulling into your driveway and you look at your landscape, you're like, oh my God, it looks so amazing. I love the way this makes me
Mm-hmm.
feel, right? So
Yeah.
take that into any business. And again, I don't care if you're a welder. How does it make somebody feel knowing this thing looks good? I know it's solid, whatever the case may be, but people will remember how you made them feel more than they remember what you said or what you did, but they always remember how you made them feel. And this is a really cool experience, environment that you've created. So I appreciate you saying that. And the one thing is, you want to have people stop in their tracks. That is really cool. And
I
now that
mean,
you're,
I
go ahead.
love that feeling. I really love it. I mean, there's nothing worse than getting a package and it's just like this loose thing like bouncing around in a box and it was just like tossed in there. I don't know. I love the layers. I love the experience of that. Whether it's coming from a business or, someone sends you a letter in the mail and you're like, oh, actually, I'm going to put this aside and wait. Like, I love that idea that we're going to wait and create a special moment to read a birthday card or whatever it might be. So, yeah.
Well, think about it this way, getting a wedding invitation that you
Hmm.
know who it's from. You know it because you can see, okay, it's from these two people, but you want to open up because you want to see what's it gonna look like.
Hmm.
And when you
Yeah.
start reading, like, oh my God, like that all kind of flows in that environment, which is really cool. Um,
Hmm.
Now that we're gonna switch over into corporate gifting, right?
Hmm.
I love the way you've kind of framed this out. And for me, I love telling people as a business coach. you want to pay attention to your clientele. You want to give them a nice welcome package, right? Then you want to
Hmm.
find times to say thank you. You want to find times to say congratulations. You want to find times to say, I'm thinking of you because you're either going through something that they don't need to go through, or just it's the holiday season. Always finding a way to continue the connection. And if you use a really good, meaningful, very well emotionally connected, anticipated event to create that, what better way to do it than what you're doing with Hazelmade and your relationships to build these different brands up? So I love the idea because there's so much more to corporate gifting than, all right, yeah, you spend a lot of money with me. Here's a package, right?
Right.
You want to create that environment. So
Hmm.
how did this all come to be that you wanted to make the transition from what you were doing with your illustrations into corporate gifting? It's the next 10 years, I get it, but what was it that drew you to this? Is it that feeling?
So, well, I mean, this sort of landed in my lap, and I was approached by, a professional firm that said, "Hey, does Hazelmade do corporate gifting?" And I said, "Absolutely." I'd never done it before, but I'm a yes person. Let's figure it out. And so I said yes confidently, and then just figured it out on my own on the side here. But we put together these great corporate gift sets with Hazelmade products. I fulfilled them. We did a custom handwritten note inside each box for them. We fulfilled 200 of these for their clients. We shipped them. The project went great. And then the next year rolled around, and I, did the thing you do, and I followed up and said, "Hey, you want to do this again?" And they said, "We loved it. Our clients loved it, but we want to do something different every year." And I said,
Perfect.
uh, "Great. I have this wonderful network of people that I've met over the last 10 years from doing trade shows and just being in the industry. How about I curate a gift set of these other independent brands that are just like Hazelmade? It's all the things that you loved about Hazelmade, but they're going to be new and fresh brands and products. And I'll put together those gift sets for you and do the same thing I did last year: package them, fulfill them, handwritten notes, ship them off for you, track each package, make sure it arrives, all that stuff you loved. I can still do all of that." And they said yes. And then it just sort of grew from there. Um, and I loved the idea that I got to curate other people's work. I mean, it's actually quite difficult and very time consuming to get very thoughtful pieces that
Mhm.
go together. They have the same like vibe and color palette. If you're going to do this chocolate bar, what goes with the chocolate bar? What's not going to break in the mail? What has a shelf life to last through the lifetime of the project? Because it does take some time to put this together and ship it and all that. So there was a lot to learn, but I had all of the backing just from the years of building Hazelmade and everything that I had learned along the way. So um, I kind of had this rule that if I love it, then it can be a part of the business. And I gave it a try and I loved it. And so here it is. It's a part of the business. We're launching a catalog this year and
Oh,
really trying
wow.
to grow what we're offering. So yeah.
Okay. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're getting paid to do something you really enjoy doing, right?
Yeah, that's all of the things. Hazelmade, I love it. Um, the corporate gifting, I love it. I don't want to do things that don't bring me joy and make me feel excited. And so this is one of those things. I do really enjoy it. And so it just made sense to nest it into the brand and the business.
I love that. So let's talk about some of the things that bring you joy, right? As you create this little fiefdom that is Susan Hazel Rich, right? You've got this world that you have with your different businesses. What is it that would be a great learning lesson for somebody that is either starting out or working a business and a little bit stuck? What would you say is some of the bigger lessons you've learned to kind of bring yourself into the success you've seen?
Well, the best thing that I did was I just got started.
Mm.
So when I started Hazelmade 10 years ago, a little bit more than that, honestly, I had a background in graphic design. I had gone to school for graphic design. I was trained in that. I had worked in professionally as a designer with client-based work, mainly if you want to think about like logos and packaging design and website design. So when I decided to transition to Hazelmade, I was actually entirely self-taught in illustration. I didn't get those skills through my studies or anything like that. Um, I was interested in making a product, something that was my own, that wasn't client driven, that I could drive the creative on. Um, and so I got started and was self-taught with that. And when I started, I knew the work that I was creating wasn't good, which is really interesting for me in the moment of that moment. And also looking back on it, I was and am such a perfectionist. Like I am constantly striving to be, you know, the best and super buttoned up, super type A, all of that stuff. Um, and I look at that time and I just made the work. I put it out there
Hmm.
so that people could respond to it, so that I would be driven to make it better. But I just jumped in. I didn't wait for it to be perfect. And the work actually didn't, my voice as a visual artist, I don't think even really developed and came through until maybe year 4 or 5 of the brand. I can see like kernels of it starting coming together, but it was it was just growth all along. But it was publicly out there. Like I had a product line. I knew it wasn't great. There was a lot that I was learning. Um, there's not a lot that you can find online to learn how to do this. You can't,
Yeah.
maybe now there's some more courses around it, but I just had to do the work and I had to jump in and get started. So I am really proud of myself for just doing that, for putting work out there that I was like, ooh, this isn't great. But the best way to get better is just like jump in, just do it.
Okay, so I'm going to go back a couple minutes. And when I asked you, how'd you get into the corporate gifting piece, you legitimately said, well, I'm a yes person. So of
Mhm,
course, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go over here and figure out how to do it on my own.
mhm,
It sounds like Hazelmade is an unbelievably cool stumbling block accident that is now this unbelievably successful business because you just stumbled into it and said, I'm going to make it work because I want to do this, right? It's
mhm,
pretty impressive because most people, once they stumble, they don't want to keep going. They always want to stay right where they are because they stumbled, right? So
mhm.
now you're doing all this thing to bring this business up to something that it's successful. It's pretty impressive.
Well, thank you.
Sorry about that. So how do you go from, okay, I'm just going to get it going. I'm just going to start it to now you realize it's successful. What were the challenges along the way that you had to overcome to make that work?
Well, so when I started, I was doing some like very local craft markets, like pop-up markets, sort of things like farmers markets, stuff like that. And a woman came up to my table. I was doing all kinds of things. I was sewing, I was making fine art, I was making greeting cards, I was doing illustrations, I was doing everything. Which I love. I love that I had that time where I just made whatever I wanted to make, and I was feeling out where I wanted to be creatively. So this woman came to my table and said, "Do you wholesale these greeting cards?" And I said, "Yes." And then I went home and Googled what does wholesaling greeting cards mean. There's nothing really that you can find. So I made an appointment with her, went to her store. Make this story really short here because it could go on forever, but
I love it.
and brought in this like shoebox full of these greeting cards. They didn't have envelopes, they didn't have packaging. They were just like one-off greeting cards, which you can't wholesale one-off things. Um, and I said, like, here they are. Do you want to have them in your store? And she said, okay, stop. Here's 5 things you need to figure out, and then I will talk to you about wholesaling and you being in my store. Packaging, pricing, minimums, et cetera, et cetera. So she sort of gave this to me, and I went home and I actually did the work and I did the things that she said and I figured it out. And I came back to her and she said, "Oh, dang, no one ever does that." So I said, "Can I buy you lunch once a month and do the work and get critiques from you and get advice from you as a buyer in the wholesale side of this industry?" And so we did that. And now I'm forgetting what your original question was, but um, that was sort of how it got started. What was your original question? Remind me again.
No, you're good. Because I want to ask about the result of your once a month lunch engagement with this individual. The original question was, how did you get through the challenges of
Yes.
stumbling originally, and then
Hmm.
all of a sudden now it's being successful? How did you make that happen? And I love your
Okay.
answers. So your answers
Well,
are great. It's yes, and then I figured it out. I just
yeah.
did the work. And to your point, you can't Google and get an answer to everything, as you just
Hmm.
illustrated, but you can find a starting point. And that starting
Hmm.
point is all you need because of your desire and your passion, your interest in doing this. You find your
Hmm.
way kind of getting into the groove and figuring it out. The great thing is, if I'm understanding you, you had somebody that was willing to teach you. And that's one of the keys to most businesses is they try to go alone and they don't have somebody that can help. So explain
Yeah.
the relationship, right?
So yeah, and so to the earlier question, now that I've got my train of thought back here, and this as well. So she was going to this trade show to do buying and purchasing for her store in New York, and I asked if I could come along and just see what this trade show is about. So I did that in year one of Hazelmade. And while I was at that trade show, I was like, this is it. This is the thing I'm going to do. And so I set the goal to exhibit at that trade show in year five of my business. And I've done this several iterations along the way of basically setting these goals and having somewhere that I was working towards. And
Hmm.
so this is one example. There's many of them. And I think that that has is what's helped keep me going and propel me into the next year and the next year. So, year five, I did exhibit at that trade show, and then it was time to set a new goal. And so I set a new goal and just kind of keep doing that so that I have somewhere that I'm aiming towards. Because you're right, I this is a lonely business. You're doing it alone on your own. It's hard to have that accountability and to know what the roadmap is and where you're going. So along the way, yes, I've had that mentor in the beginning, but also I had a friend of mine. He was growing his business, completely different industry, but he was starting and growing his business at the same time as I was. So we would meet once a week and just talk about what's working, what's not working, just a little bit of accountability. Now I have two mentors that help me more on the business side of things,
Hmm.
and I meet with them maybe once a quarter. Um, Still buying those lunches for people and asking those questions, but finding whoever you can. And it doesn't have to necessarily, yes, there's paid resources as well, but there's also just even that friend that I had who he's starting a business, I'm starting a business. Let's just have these
Yeah.
casual Monday calls where there were 30 minutes, just like, what are you going to work on this week? What did you finish last week? Like, just some sort of anchor to hold you down.
Well, think about it this way, which I love about relationships like that, whether it's your mentor that you pay for or a friend that's a guiding force,
Mhm.
whatever, it's all about accountability, right? Because at the end of the day, you're sitting down for half an hour and having a conversation with somebody and saying, this is what I want to accomplish this week. And
Mhm.
then you ask, what do you want to do? And then you get together next week and say, how'd it go?
Yeah.
Right? What went good? What went bad? What'd you learn? How's it going to change your life? Like, what are we doing to get better?
Mhm.
And that's a really good relationship to have in your life because it's going to help you stay focused on the things you need to focus on. And I think we
Mhm.
had a brief conversation before. Instead of seven, eight different things you're trying to focus in on, it's picking the one to three that are really going to be a priority for the next 90 days and nailing them,
Mhm.
getting them
Yeah.
done exceptionally well. And then the noise, the distractions, they don't fall away, but they become less and less loud. And then you can pay attention to what you need to. And when it's ready,
Mhm.
you can pick those up because now, okay, I've accomplished all these things. I'm now at my seventh layer of priorities. Okay, now I can handle this. But you
Yeah.
can't get everything done. You have to focus. And that's one of the things that I appreciate you talking about is, accountability, focus. It's having somebody to help you through that. And one of the things I believe is a strong force in everybody that is proven to be a successful business owner, their mindset is tied to themselves. And I use the word anchor a number of times. They anchor their business to their own personality, values, their ethics, their morals. It's grounded in that. And that's what
Mhm.
makes you one, appealing to your clientele because they know what they're getting. Two, you're attractive to partners and employees because they want to work with somebody like that, right? Because
Hmm.
like-minded people like to hang around with each other. And then when you have this peer group of people, you can bounce ideas off and you share a mentality. It's almost as if you take that old adage, you cannot fly with the eagles if you hang out with turkeys all day. So at some point, you have to find a way to get leveled up. And I'm not saying leave people behind, but if people don't want to come with you, you have to find new friends that are going to be willing to
Yeah.
help you and push you, right? So that's what's cool about business is there's so many different ways and angles that you can take, and not every path is exactly the same. But most people that find success have this pathway of accountability, goal setting, doing the things necessary, figuring it out. There's always this grind that happens, but it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens with you being placed in the reality of, in 5 years, I want to be at that trade show. Bang, I'm going to make that happen. Okay, now
Hmm.
what? I've accomplished that. I would imagine you sat around and go, okay, now what? What am I doing next? Right? But you
Yes.
find yourself, all right, I've checked those boxes. Now what do I want to accomplish next? And when you have that mentality, it makes it so much easier to just be that much more successful because you're not thinking about the failure. You're thinking about the opportunity. So I think the mindset
Yeah.
is a really strong part.
Yeah.
Good
Awesome.
stuff.
I
No,
totally agree.
it's good stuff. I love what you're doing, and I'm going to have in the bottom so the description. Anybody wants to find Hazelmade, they'll be able to find it, um, because your products are really cool and your illustrations are. I did not know they were yours, so thank you for sharing that with me because it's really talent that you
Thank
have.
you.
Just looking behind you, that's just an example of some of the products you have,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So people get a chance to see exactly what they're getting themselves into when they tap into hazelmade.com. They get a chance to see your products and all that. So great.
Hmm.
Um, Want to talk about what would you say is the biggest challenge you've ever overcome as a business owner? So I want to talk about that part of being a business owner because everybody in the audience is going to be, yeah, it sounds so simple. She drew, right here she is. But what's the challenge that you overcame, and how do you think that would resonate as a solution to others?
I mean, I think the biggest challenge that comes to mind right now for me is I just had my 10-year anniversary, and that was the first time that really everyone around me was like, "Oh gosh, you've arrived." When we got the commercial studio space a couple of years ago, that was a big tipping point for a lot of folks. Like, I knew what I was building was great since day one. Otherwise, I wouldn't have kept doing it. I believed in myself. I knew we weren't there yet, but I knew we were building something real, or I was building something real. But it took a while for everyone to kind of get on board, right? So the commercial studio space, which is what I'm in right now, this is our sample wall behind me. That was a big moment for folks. And then a couple years after we got that was our 10-year anniversary, and that was really when everybody finally got on board of like, oh gosh, this is the
No.
big deal. This is legitimate. But internally, I was feeling like I I don't know if I can keep pushing this thing up this hill for another 10 years. Like, I thought this 10-year anniversary that is sort of this magic unicorn in the world of business and entrepreneurship was going to feel a lot different. And so I was going internally through, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I don't know if I'm fulfilled anymore. Like, I thought something different would happen at this
Wow.
10-year mark. And so I didn't give up. I kept thinking about that. Like, why do I feel that way? What could I do? I can't imagine a world without Hazelmade. I do love the work that I do. And I love this space that I've created, and I don't want to do something different. But I guess I just thought when we got here, it would feel different than it does. So that's where it was like, oh, you don't just our so much socially as and culturally for us is like about these cliffs, right? Like, you go to college and you graduate from college, and then then your life has just started, and it's perfect because you graduated college or whatever these landmarks are, that we kind of go to. So this 10-year anniversary, like, it doesn't mean that it's over. It just means that I made it to 10 years. And so I actually have started the work all over again. What is the
Wow.
next 10 years going to look like? It's not going to look like the last 10 years. what do I want to achieve? What do I want to do? What am I passionate about? What kind of impacts do I want to make? And that's where the things like this corporate gifting is more than corporate gifting. Like I actually wish that we could call it something different, but
Yeah.
that's just what it has to be called. It's so much more than just corporate gifts. Like it's
Yeah.
really about supporting and
Yeah.
community and me getting to stretch into curation and what does that mean and creating these moments with other people's work, doing more speaking engagements and how can I help teach and empower the next generation of product-based businesses, doing consulting with product-based brands, like what areas am I going to stretch into to fulfill the next 10 years.
Yeah.
And I think that that was really difficult because it's not something that we talk about a lot of like, oh, look, you're doing it. Hazelmade's thriving, you're winning, congratulations, 10 years, just like there's this cliff, like you've made it, you've arrived, but there is no arrival. Like it's just this constant work to reinvent yourself and reinvigorate yourself. And then it can that I know that sort of sounds negative, but it's actually really exciting. I'm really excited about it now. It was scary and not fun at first, but I'm very excited about what's next.
Okay. There's this, again, so much to unpack here, and I appreciate being vulnerable because what is interesting about the conversation is whatever you set your goal out to be, when you accomplish it, don't be afraid of it. When you get there, there's more on the other side. So don't
Mm-hmm.
set your goals too easy. Set them as lofty as you can because you will reach them. What I love about what you're saying is it's almost as if, oh my God, I wasn't supposed to be this successful and do it for 10 years. Now that I've made it to 10 years and I'm successful and I love what I do, now what? And it's not
Right.
a negative. It's okay, I've done this and I'm so happy. I want to do more. And what I love about your conversation, I wish I could call it something different than corporate gifting. No, no, no. Call it corporate gifting your way, because not everybody does it the way you are. You are
Mm-hmm.
identifying how it should be done. So your
Mm-hmm.
niche in the market is not going to be what every other one or every other company that does this. It's Susan's way of curating a really cool corporate gifting experience. So don't be afraid
Mm-hmm.
of saying, I'm going to keep doing corporate gifting in a new way because you're going to take over the market in a way that other people weren't expecting. And that's what I love about the iterative example of, I didn't even know what to do. I just said yes to, I didn't know I was going to make it to 10 years. What am I going to do next? Well, yeah, yes, I'm going to do this. And you're figuring it out. And it's a wonderful pathway because you've got these steps and you keep going forward and
Mm-hmm.
climbing. I love it. I think it's fantastic. I wish more people had this open mind about don't be afraid, take advantage of the opportunities that you have. So I welcome people to take that into their minds and thank you for bringing it to the surface. So appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff.
Yeah, no, it's good to be honest about these things because then, someone else, like I spent a lot of time in the last couple of years thinking, well, what's wrong with me? Because everyone
Yeah.
else makes it to 10 years and they have these like Instagram moments and everything looks perfect and great, but we're probably all sort of feeling that. So I like to be honest about it because then we feel a little less alone in it. But yeah,
Well,
I think as a business owner, you spend so much time, or at least I spent so much time worrying what happens if I fail that you don't, and it's a little like a little cliche, but like oh, what happens if you actually do make it? I mean
now what?
that's yeah. So
What am I
you
supposed to
know,
do now? Oh my God, I wasn't expecting to be this successful.
right,
And
right,
it's interesting too, because you've been doing it for 10 years. You arrived at that 10-year milestone, and everyone's like, oh my God, you're an overnight success. No,
right,
I've been doing this for a while. I've been doing this for a little
yeah.
while, right? You are not, you're going to be shocked when I tell you this, but we have been talking for over 30 minutes.
Okay,
It goes by so fast. No, it
so
does. It goes
fast.
by incredibly fast. I want to thank you for, again, being vulnerable and telling us your story and really explaining what you do and why you do it. I think there's
Mhm.
a lot of passion and there's a lot of talent behind what you do. Thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Any last words you want to have for the audience?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for having me, and then hopefully we'll link my contact information if someone has a question or they're
Absolutely.
struggling with something, like just reach out. I'm happy to help or answer questions. So yeah, thank you so much, Scott, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure. I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We'll talk to everybody in the next episode. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.